highest guy on the squad.
Dang, they do to my boy AD.
What's going on, everybody? This is SNL Movie Chats, and we are your hosts, John Emery Singleton
and Joshua Lewis.
And today we are talking about King James in the new Space Jam: A New Legacy.
Toon Squad
with the Toon Squad versus the Goon Squad. Hit us with your thoughts, Josh. What were you thinking?
Man, I gotta say, being a real big fan of the first Space Jam, this movie for me was hit out the park. I mean, for starters, they picked the perfect NBA star to, center the movie around. And it's crazy too, because I remember way back when they had talked to Kobe Bryant about being the person to be the main person for Space Jam, but he turned it down for whatever reasons. May rest in peace. But yeah, I think they started off with a great move of centering it around King James. He definitely has a lot of highlights, a lot of accolades since he was young, starting off in basketball to where he's at now, playing for the LA Lakers. King James, that's all I really have to say. Real humble dude. I love seeing LeBron in things, movies, anything he pops up in. He's just a cool guy, and it really translates in any form of entertainment, whether it's basketball, television, the big screen. So him being the center of Space Jam, A New Legacy, I thought was pretty cool.
Worked for you?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
That's good. With this movie, I had some good laughs. You watched it with me. You had your second rewatch when I watched it for the first time. I had some good laughs, and there are definitely some good laughs in this film for sure. But there was a lot that just didn't work for me. That being said, I'm fully aware that this film is aimed towards like the younger audience. So there are some things that are just that will coast and work perfectly fine for kids, but it kind of just felt like a majority of the film, for me anyway, they leaned into that as like we're aiming this towards kids, so this can slide and this can slide, and we're good with like just letting this be. That being said, I do totally agree with you. I think James was the one to go with if you're going to pick anyone from the NBA right now.
Bronny.
Yeah, he was a great pick for the main character to kind of introduce us back into the Space Jam world. And it was cool. We got some cameos from Klay Thompson and AD, so I thought that was cool. And you're right. We got some interesting cameos. We had Michael B. Jordan. We got, of course, Don Cheadle playing the villain. He really did feel like the one character who knew what movie he was being in. And I like that he was just like, he took on that crazy, quirky villain in a kid's film well. Like, he knew what he was signing up for, and I think he really, stayed in that lane and did what he needed to do. But overall, I did have like issues with the movie. LeBron James, I love him. Phenomenal athlete. He is easily going down in the Hall of Fame, and we will talk about him in the world of sports for a very, very long time. That being said, he's not there to carry a film by himself as the main protagonist. You can see him trying, and I respect that. And it's good because I feel like if he wanted to pursue this avenue beyond like post-NBA, kind of like Dwayne did and John Cena is trying right now, I could really see something coming of that. But for right now, him as a main protagonist didn't work for me. A lot of his delivery, a lot of his dialogue was it felt flat, and it felt like sometimes he didn't really know what to do with his facial expressions too. I kind of felt that way sometimes. So...
Interesting. I don't know. I don't think for me, I kind of don't agree. I feel like for not being an athlete, for not being an actor, like every day, for him just being an athlete to come into this movie, I feel like he did a phenomenal job. I think he did what he needed to do, no more, no less. And I feel like that with almost every character in this movie, real character in this movie, just like Don Cheadle. He played that over-the-top, quirky villain he didn't, but he also didn't take it too serious. It looked like he was having fun with the role. With a Space Jam movie, you should be having fun. I don't think the movie's really, because we've had movies before where they don't really rely on that acting ability. Movies like, scary movie franchise and like superhero movie, things like that. I feel like those movies don't lean into the acting as to carry the movie. It's more over the top, comedic, at least for those movies anyway. Not related to Space Jam. But just going to Space Jam, I just feel like everyone knew the role they had to play, and I felt like they executed it in the best way without being... let's be honest, this is going to be nominated for any Emmys or anything like that. You know what I mean? But that's not... I feel like the actors and actresses in this movie didn't have that in their head as like an Emmy performance that they were trying to put on. I think they knew what the movie was. They knew who it was centered to, and yeah, I agree it was centered to kids, but I also feel like a lot of this movie had things for us and adults that grew up with the Looney Tunes, watching them, and us a little more younger growing up with LeBron and his legacy in basketball, that I feel like it was also centered for us as well. And I think everyone did just what they needed to do, because I never felt like anyone was doing too much or tú little for me watching the movie. It's where it took me out of the movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it from start to finish. I enjoyed it from start to finish. And then even going back to the first Space Jam, just remember watching that as a kid. I never, obviously we're older now. The way we look at movies and TV is a lot different, drastically different. But I can still remember watching the first Space Jam and not having I hope Michael Jordan is performing at his best acting ability. You know what I mean? Because if you go back to the first Space Jam, didn't really,
I can agree
do
with
much, But he just, it was really just there to Michael Jordan with the Looney Tunes. Who's not going to watch that? If you're a basketball fan, you're tuning in for that. If you're a Looney Tunes fan, you're definitely tuning in for that. So I feel like that's what this movie had for me, and then highlighting LeBron's just career through the movie, and then also touching on some real life topics that I feel like a lot of people can take away from this movie, even though, it was centered towards kids, and it could be, some people might think, it's a little corny and stuff like that, but I feel like if you take the core things out of the movie, like a father having to deal with his son not wanting to do exactly what you want to do, and then having to come to terms with that, and I like that in the movie, they had LeBron. I feel like LeBron the movie itself did a good thing of showing how an athlete may struggle with parenting their kid, at least in like
outside of wanting to do the same thing that he is doing. Yeah,
because he wants him. You see him. LeBron's not a terrible father. Like he's just using basketball as a way of getting Dom to reach his full potential. But with the downside with that is he just wanted it to only be for basketball, which. I don't know about anyone else, but I know, like, me and my dad, he loved soccer, loved it. Would drag me to soccer games and all the time. But I feel like because of his love for soccer so much, and he even wanted me to play too, I felt the same way Dom felt when he, like, dropped the line of, like, you make me hate basketball. To this day, I don't really like soccer that much.
Like, it's like it's forced upon you, so you almost take a step away because of that. It's like, you don't get to love it on your own. You're being forced to.
Yeah, and as a kid to say that, me being 24 years old, I can relate to that because I feel the exact same way about like soccer with my dad, and I gravitated more towards like basketball mainly and then football. So like when he was having that conversation with his dad, I generally felt that from a kid, like trying to let their parent know. And honestly, even the kid playing Dom, I thought he did a good job just as a child actor. I feel like he was funny for me. All his little more serious lines, at least when he was on screen with LeBron, I feel like people can watch this movie and honestly think Dom was his real son, the way their chemistry was for me.
Yeah, you heard my girlfriend, she asked if that was his real kid or not. So, they had a nice little like father-son chemistry. I'm going to, before I just bash the movie some more, there are some pros. Like I said, the laughs in this movie, there are some that hit, even for like me, an adult,
definitely.
The way that they use some of the Looney Tunes characters and introducing them and them being in different movies. Elmer Fudd being Mini in Austin Powers was hysterical.
So
a double obligata. That line was fantastic.
Malik, you did your thing in this movie, man. It was hilarious.
And while I have like I said, with the whole LeBron's not ready to carry a movie, I do think that something that I even noticed before this in his small role in Trainwreck, his comedic timing is good.
Yeah.
And I think that is like a core sensibility that he could grow on if he decided to continue in this medium. And
I think that's just Braun himself. Like he's a very, like I said earlier, he's a very humble and charismatic person. So I feel like he's like that in day to day, even with his Taco Tuesdays. Like he's a funny guy.
Yeah.
So I feel like that related well through the camera and through the movie.
I think that he has a chance to kind of grow on that. And a pro that kind of leans into the con end was that it was cool that, okay, we're at WB again, so we can kind of show you a couple things, and it's different. We're in a different kind of universe. It's not like the first one where we're just in the Toon land and that's it. So it was cool kind of seeing them like put LeBron at the beginning when the AI was giving him the showcase and just putting him in all these different like worlds and games.
Oh yeah, I like that a lot. I thought that was cool.
But it got to a point for me where it just felt like an hour of just Warner Brothers flexing all of their titles for like an hour in, and I'm just like, okay, I'm supposed to be watching Space Jam with the Looney Tunes. I don't need to see every famous Warner Brothers character you've ever created in this movie. It was a cool thing for like, again, when they reintroduced the Toons coming back to Toon World. That was neat, but then it just kept like progressing, like all of these Toon, like the Iron Giant and King Kong being at the game, and all of these things that they were almost like a distraction from the game when they were playing. So that was a thing that didn't really work for me because it just felt like Warner Brothers was like, hey, if you like this, we also have this. That's kind of how I felt about that. So I wish they would have toned that back some too as well. But other than that, I don't want to say have a bunch of cons because again, I get they were going for the whole like kid thing, and I think that hits. If I had a kid, I would assume he or she would be watching this very regularly. The voice cast was cool. Zendaya as Lola Bunny. I thought that was a nice fit. I think
she did a good job as Lola. Yeah, for the Looney Tunes, I feel like they all again, they just what my another pro for me with this movie is they did a good job of reminding me how funny the Looney Tunes are, and even them bringing back like some iconic scenes with them, like Bugs in the barbershop, for example. Like, I don't know if you remember, but like, famous, like, he has a guy in the barbershop and he uses his feet to like rub his head and stuff like that. Like, it's cool that they show stuff like that. Even LeBron's reaction when he saw Bugs, like, LeBron felt like me if I were to see Bugs Bunny, like, hey, bro, like, give me a hug. Like, what's up? You know what I mean? Like, it is cool because we did grow up with these characters. And I think the first Space Jam probably came out around the time LeBron was probably in like high school or something like that.
Yeah, and I think that's a thing too with the movie as a whole that kind of like gets me is that while it's aimed towards kids again, a lot of the stuff is aimed towards a demographic that grew up with that.
Yeah,
again, the Looney Tunes. Kids these days, a lot of them don't really know what the Looney Tunes are, but we do. And then a lot of the icons that they used in the Warner Brothers Playhouse that they decided to play in, Iron Giant, the Mystery Machine, these older characters that kids, 8, 9, 10-year-olds aren't going to know who these people are.
Like the Mask, the old school Penguin, if you saw that, the Jetsons.
So they're kind of showing this for like us, and it's like, okay, so you're showing this for us, but I don't like need this much of it. Like a cool little hint here and there, but you just like painting the whole movie with it. It just it took me out at times, especially during the game.
For me, I feel like I actually enjoyed it a lot because, you're right, WB is definitely flexing all their titles. But I don't blame them. Honestly, I thought it was a cool, nice little add-in, and I feel like it makes sense if the Toon Worlds aren't. Like, that's just so loony of them. Like, if they're not on Toon World, where would they be? In other, like, Warner Brothers things. Yeah. Just, like, doing their loony things. Like, I thought that was kind of cool. And then to the game, like you said, I feel like this movie's definitely trying to introduce the Looney Tunes as a whole back into the mainstream genre for kids. Even to the animation, because that animation when they were in the game for me was really good.
I did not see that coming, and I agree. I think that was a cool way to see the Looney Tunes.
Yeah, and then especially coming from the first Space Jam to this one, I feel like the new legacy within the title also has the spin on like, oh, we have this new sort of animation now, so we can animate LeBron and he can be with the Looney Tunes. Unlike before, where Michael Jordan was just in Toon World, but really Michael Jordan and everyone else was animated as it should be. So I like that. I like that he was animated for the first half of the movie.
Yeah, and I told you, when he was animated, it felt better. It almost felt like LeBron was like a voice actor, and I was like really on board with that because it just felt like it fit better. But then when it came back, it was like, it kind of took me back out of the movie because, again, he's just not there for me yet. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think, and he looked good as a Toon.
Yeah, he did. Well, his animated character was real good. And then going to the basketball game, I feel like what they did with the whole WB and just showing all their titles. First of all, before I even get into that, let me say WB just also showed off. They had some really good like fictional stories. Like that's what they have. Matrix, Mad Max, Game of Thrones. They have hits back to back. Mm-hmm. That's something we can't deny. So I don't blame them for showing that off at all. And to the basketball game, again, I feel like those things were for us and for older people that do know about The Mask or Old School Penguin, the Jetsons. I mean, that's even a little bit before us when that like was really out, the Flintstones. I mean, It Clown was in there too. That's a little more in the realm of like, yeah, that's a good like middle ground, like kids a little bit older, hopefully.
Like pre-teen,
yeah.
teen, what kind of
even they could see that and be like, oh, It. And then, again, for us, like Iron Giant, King Kong, like I thought that was well done for the older audience watching it and it not just being centered towards kids. So honestly, just having them in the background as audience members watching the game, I thought that was pretty cool. And I like that they did WB and then like WB on one side and then half real people on the other side to really kind of maybe ground it a little more. So like I didn't mind that at all. I thought that was pretty cool. And that was cool for me, that didn't really take me out the game. That was just kind of the added, oh, hey, you see that? Oh, cool. Oh, look at that. Like that kind of was it for me, but it didn't take me out the game because I was still, even talking about the basketball game itself, I was still really into the game because it was such the main thing I like about this movie is they're just showing again how like 25 years later, look at what we can do now with animation and even with a regular basketball game. Before in Space Jam, it was like, let's just make it as loony as we can. Like, what would a basketball game be with the Looney Tunes? Cool, we've seen that. But with this one and adding like Dom's character, like actually being a gamer and liking basketball, he melded that. And I'm glad we got to see that in the last scene for the basketball game. Because then even LeBron, an older head who's used to an older style of basketball, was kind of like, whoa, power-ups? Like, this isn't... He kept saying, he's like, this isn't real basketball. But it is basketball, just a little twist on it, you know what I mean? Like, something more fun, like some real... What's the one game we used to play? Kind of like NBA Live, ish. Like, it was cool,
like that extreme version.
Yeah, like, so I kind of like that, and I like that he had to take a step back and like really find his fun again. Like I know that's kind of like I could kind of be used like as a corny thing for an adult to like learn, but for an athlete who's driven his whole life to become respectfully the king of basketball right now in today's age, it could be hard for him to rekindle that just funness because his drive was just win, win, win. If you win, this will happen. If you win, this will happen. The same thing as Coach was telling when he was younger. Like, and I feel like for the movie, and maybe even for Bron's real life, that was such a driving force for him that I feel like in the movie it relates pretty well, at least for me. So I really like that, and I love after the first half of the game when they're coming back and they rekindle, get the little huddle together and finally go out there to have fun. You see what happens when, and this is real life basketball too. Like you see, if you come out with a whole new energy, the whole game can be different.
Things can change.
You never know, yeah. So I like that he actually came back out and it was hype. Like we're gonna do this like Looney Tunes Soon Squad. I love that part.
I like it, but it's just so corny.
I don't know. It was hype. I like that because it's real. I don't know. Just like I think what it is again for me, like the sportsness of it Cause like I just like how he came out, like the introduction to like hype him up, like that's what we're supposed to be doing. Like we want them to win. Obviously they're gonna win. You know, it'd be a bad movie if they didn't win. I'd be talking shit if they lost. I'm not gonna lie. But I don't know. It was just
why
cool.
the twist? Bro.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, you're the king. No, like the Goon Squad. Come on now.
I thought one thing that was neat that I was kind of intrigued about watching the trailers was what they were going to do with the opposing team this time around, because obviously in the original we had the aliens and they just absorbed great players' abilities. Mm-hmm. So I was intrigued on what they were going to do, which by the way they make a cameo, so I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, old Monstars.
Yeah, they do this, on a pause on that, they do this weird thing we talked about where they address the first one but don't address it in like a...
Yeah, I think they did it in a good like...
Almost like it's up to you.
Way. Yeah, like a good Toony way. Because even the scene with Michael B. Jordan, when before I knew it was him, honestly, I felt like I was them in the locker room. I was like, bro, if Michael Jordan comes out here right now, we're Gucci, we're good. Like, that's generally how I felt. So it was hilarious that it wasn't him. But I felt the like ray of hope if Michael Jordan did come through, because that was cool.
And his little pep talk while he was leaving was funny, right? Yeah. He's like, "Oh, you came back, you came back for 1-3, bro. You got this."
Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, it was great. But with that squad, like them, like Dom using his game mechanics to kind of morph traditional basketball players with different species of animals. Like I thought that was cool, and it was different. So I thought that was cool. Overall, I think the movie doesn't work for me, but I get why it would work for other people. I think that's a good way to put it.
And I feel like it, back to the values real quick. I mean, I'm not a father, but I feel like anyone can take what you've seen in this movie, whether it hits for you or not. I feel like you can take it and honestly just keep that maybe in your head and apply that to life. Because there's, like I said, like with my experiences, there are people that feel like that. Like you can be passionate about something, but just don't try to force your passion onto someone else, because then they could essentially hate that thing for it and then hate you for it in the long run. So I'm glad that, they had their little heart-to-heart. And again, LeBron's not an actor. So even his heart-to-heart with his son, for me, it was okay. Like I said, he's not winning any Emmys, obviously, or anything like that. But he did do his best, and I can always appreciate that. He just like basketball, he went out there, gave it 110%. That I can definitely, see with him. And even his heart-to-heart with his son, it was nice. It was just a nice little moment. Like, and you could tell, he's not a phenomenal actor, but you can tell when he was talking to his son, he kind of was like breaking voice a little bit, kind of choking up, because it was a touching scene. So I'm glad that he was able to get out what he had to get out for them to like meld their relationship. The Toon Squad jerseys were fire. I just have to point that out real quick. They were lit. I might have to get one soon. One day you guys are going to see me in video wearing it randomly. Ronnie, I'm going to get it. The Looney Tunes were awesome. I feel like they did this cool thing of showing them with that animation to maybe possibly get a new reintroduction to the Looney Tunes in the future.
Yeah, maybe they have some thoughts about bringing the Looney Tunes back into a more present light, and maybe that animation style they used for them in the game is what we'll be seeing. Maybe.
Because that'll be good. They look real good. I like that a lot.
I think that would make a very interesting format for the Looney Tunes as a whole.
Yeah, and then the game itself was, real quick, I liked it. When they came back out on the court and got into the looniness of it, they were lit. Even the rap scene. I'm not gonna lie, sometimes when movies or TVs have little rap things, sometimes it can be real corny. But bro, come on, Notorious B.I.G., bro. That was funny, bro.
It was corny, but it was funny.
Come on.
He said some stuff in there that was too funny.
Even how they oh, you want to rap or something like that? They just switch up there come on.
The way he started, bro, he was stuttering and then he jumps right into it.
Yo, Porky, fry him. Come on, man. They killed that. So I honestly I'd rewatch this movie again. I'd probably get it just it just feels good to watch a basketball movie. It's good to watch Space Jam again. I feel like they knocked it out the park. I'm glad they also took their time and wasn't trying to rush Space Jam. Again, I felt like the 25-year thing works because what we have now compared to what we had before. They did a lot of different things. Real quick, did you have a favorite WB moment? like of like the montage of like getting them?
My favorite.
I know the Austin Powers one was funny as hell.
Specifically with getting the Looney Tunes, it might have to be the Austin Power ones because I was so not expecting that.
Me neither. Honestly, I thought it was gonna be like LeBron at first or something like that, but then it was Elmer Fudd.
I was like, this is
that
so
was
perfect.
so hilarious, yo. It's so hilarious.
That might have to be the one for me. The only like honorable mention would be just the first one with Daffy and him being in
that was so funny.
The way that JLA pulled up, I was like, oh, this is cool.
Hilarious.
And then they just dipped, so I was like, okay.
And I also like that. I like where they set some of them because I feel like it worked for where they were, like Roadrunner, Wild Coyote being in Mad Max World. Like that's like perfect.
Actually, I think mine would probably be Lola in the Wonder Woman because things that fit.
That was bro.
The Lola that they built in Space Jam originally kind of just carries to this one as that tough, go-getter, strong, independent woman, and that there's no better place to place her than her.
Yeah, Lola did. She's still a baddie. Lola, I see you.
Hashtag Lola money, you know? You know what I'm saying? So I guess that leads to it. Space Jam: A New Legacy with King James. Are you taking it or are you leaving it?
Guys, this is a hard take for me. If you like the first Space Jam, you're really gonna like the new one, Space Jam: A New Legacy, Space Jam 2, King Bronny. You already know Taco Tuesday. He did his thing. And another thing I want to mention real quick, all the basketball jabs in this movie were hilarious. And that's how you know LeBron's a good sport, because they were coming for him too. Mm-hmm. You know, especially Don Cheadle. He was really coming for him. Like, he's like, watch out, Lakers. Like, hopefully. But no, it was a real fun time. If you're a basketball fan, you'll like it. If you're older, you know, grew up with Looney Tunes, you'll enjoy it. If you have any kids, they'll definitely want to watch this. Promise you guys, hard take. I loved it. Can't wait for another one.
Well, for the first time since we started the channel, we're actually on opposing ends. The only reason I would say take this is if you're sitting down with your kids, they are going to love this film. So if you're watching it with some kids, definitely take it. But if you're watching it, I'm not going to sway you off. If you were already looking forward to watching it, then go ahead and click that watch. What's wrong? It's already on your mind. But if you're looking for a movie to watch, this is definitely a leave it for me. Don't worry about it. I think you can put your 2 hours somewhere else. Personally, that being said, it is all up to you. All
Let us know what you think, guys. Let us know.
Let us know. And with that, we're going to end the chat there. Thanks for watching. And if you like being a part of the chat, hit the like button, smash that subscribe button, and make sure you keep that notification bell ringing for next week's videos. Until then, you can follow the channel's social media pages in the description below. And you can follow me at JohnEmery97 on Twitter and Instagram.
You can follow me at Joshy5K on Instagram and Twitter.
Make sure you support your local movie theater and or favorite streaming service of choice. And until next time, thanks for chatting.
Bronny! Just put that in the end, though.
That was perfect.